So if we could give our babies a head start by giving just fresh and raw and natural foods to start with that are easy to break down, single foods, one thing at a time, just like we were talking earlier with bacteria and exposures, let the body build up a reservoir of things that it's going to draw you to. Everybody's body's different, so that's why it's important. It's not a cookie cutter program for our babies.
2, 1, 0.
Hi, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. This is your host, Orion, and this is part 2 of the Stellar Life Parenting series with my guest, Kristin Van Wey. Kristin shares her extraordinary wisdom and experience to give insights into how pivotal gut health is to building holistic health and strong immune system in our children. As a mother to 7 children and a grandmother to 5 grandchildren, she certainly has the experience. Mixing that with her vast training across various holistic modalities, and I'm sure you'll be as blown away as I was. Kristin is the founding director of Let's and the CEO of Essentials First. She is a wellness expert and a sought-after speaker and educator. She has helped tens of thousands of people. She also is very active with charities, working with communities in crisis, and is one of the first to volunteer when disaster hits. In this episode, Kristin discusses the connection between our children's body's immune system, overall well-being, and gut health. By nurturing our children's gut health and allowing them to explore their environment, we empower them to fulfill their purpose. If you are a parent, I highly recommend that you listen to this episode as Kristin equips us with practical and beneficial tips and offers guidance on constipation and other gut health issues that can negatively impact children and adults alike. As I stated, this is the second episode in a series that Kristin and I did about parenting. In the first episode in the series, episode 317, we talked about conscious parenting, and in the upcoming one, we will cover how pregnancy affects a child's entire life. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hey, Kristin, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Well, we, meaning me, myself, and I, my family, we all love you. You were very loved. Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome. I always love our conversations, and I am so excited about today's topic.
Yeah, today's topic is very, very important because it is the basis for our immune system, the basis for our health and our kids' health, and we're going to talk about gut health and why it is so important and how to deal with constipation.
Yeah. And how can we tell the health of an entire system by the type and frequency of our bowel movements?
Yeah. When did you learn about gut health?
It has been a lifelong journey for myself, who always had immune system issues, and so I had to learn about the importance of the context of pooping, that word that nobody likes to talk about, but the importance of that and its relationship to my own health. And then as a mother of 7, I also had this experience with every one of my children. You know, we're changing diapers, we're dealing with constipation or diarrhea for a great part of our mothering. So it was just something that I've learned over the course of the last 35 years.
Awesome. What do you do with the difficult bowel movements?
I think that constipation is one of the largest health problems in the United States and the world, honestly. And so as we have them with babies and with children, we want to take that very seriously because that is imprinting the immune support, immune health, and health for the rest of a child's life. And I know that that is making a big claim, but most of the naturopathic or holistic health practitioners that I've ever met or learned from would say that 98% of the health can be really managed or tracked by the state of the bowels. And the crazy thing is hunters, they track their animals by their scat. They can tell the health of an animal. They can tell everything about an animal by the animal's poop. So humans are the same. And so if somebody's having a hard time having regular bowel movements, then there's a lot of things you can do. So first and foremost, what is a healthy bowel habit? What is healthy bowel movements? If you eat 2 times a day, eliminating twice a day is normal. If you eat 3 meals a day, having 3 bowel movements would be normal. So that would be the gauge for healthy people. And when I say bowel movements, you guys can do a Google search and look up what does a healthy bowel movement look like. It doesn't look like little rabbit pellets. It's not sticky or hard or tar-like. Like, you want big, full bowel movements that are easy to come out. So if there's a strain, then something's going on. And there's a lot of different things that you could look at. But first and foremost would be hydration, not drinking soda or your, frappes or something like that. Like, no, I've had a lot to drink today. No, straight up water, pure water, and making sure that you get enough water so that you're not thirsty throughout the day. And it's, a lot of people say, like, drink twice your body weight, or half your body weight rather, in ounces. But just listen to your body and make sure you're hydrated. When we're raising our children, they keep us running all day long. Like, it's hard to keep track of kids and bowel movements, right? That's, unless you're changing diapers, and then it's easier to track bowel movements. But when you're changing diapers, it's actually a little easier because you can see how frequently your child is eliminating, and you can also see the texture and the type. So if a child is straining, or they're afraid to have a bowel movement, and I've worked with a lot of moms whose children, literally, it's so painful to have a bowel movement that they cry, or they.
Mine is experiencing that, and you told me that maybe I had to go through a C-section, and when the baby goes to the birth canal, it gets all the good bacteria from the mom.
It's true.
And so I guess C-section babies have more problems with their gut, right?
That can be true. So nature, we'll talk more about nature's head start, which is the womb, but the body knows how to take care of itself. The body was designed, and anytime we start intervening with practices outside of the body's normal response on purpose, now sometimes we have emergency C-sections, and that's what needs to happen, but we then have to make up for that in our health practices. And so the birth canal is filled with a mother's bacteria. The mother's health can be determined by that bacteria, and bacteria is really important. So the birth canal, and also nursing a baby, has everything to do with the types of bacteria and the amount of strength in one's immune system. That's the start. And then, of course, I always talk to moms about, like, letting your kids be dirty. Don't be so sanitary. Don't use antibacterial everything everywhere, because you're just killing off the baby's immune system.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't, like, people are handing me hand sanitizer everywhere, and I'm like, no, thank you. I can't even like have that alcohol sensation on my hands. And I'm thinking about a little baby hands with their very thin skin. Ooh, that must burn.
It is. And think about it. I mean, you want to talk about that, is we have so many hormonal disruptors. The hormones are chemical messengers in the body, and it's really important that it's communicating properly to our cells and to our organ systems. And so this gut is the first thing. This bacteria we get from our mothers, and nursing our mothers, and the bacteria we get by being with our mother, and the mother's kisses and touching the mother, and all of those things are really baby's immune system at the beginning, and fathers too, and siblings, and things like those that are closest to the baby. But the environment is really important. And so there's a couple of things. We've got the mindset issue, and then we actually have the biology. Our society, for a good since the 80s, probably, have antibacterialized everything. So where our human genetics have changed to the point where people's immune system are not as robust as we once were. So I always love moms who let their babies go out and play in the dirt and get dirty and climb trees and touch animals, and go play with the ducks and sit on the grass, and do those things, because that's how we expand. Your intelligence of your body is coming from exposure.
We didn't plan for it, but we own a pet duck, which is a lot of cleaning and a lot of headache.
Well, you know what I'm talking about then.
I think like I'm like, is it like sanitary for him to be around the duck all day? Because I'm like, it's a duck.
Wash his hands when he's going to eat, for sure. But his hands are going to end up, his hands will end up in his mouth, and there's a limit. Your body's made out of bacteria. Like, you're literally made of bacteria. So it seems like we're grossed out about germs and bacteria, but that's really what we're made out of. And then we try to sterilize it. It's a losing battle, parents. It's
And he loves playing in the dirt outside. I kind of gave up. It will be like just full of dirt from head to toe and have a huge smile on his face, and it's the most adorable thing ever.
yes, it's the best.
And then I have to like spend like 30 minutes just washing him, and there's like sand everywhere in his hair, in his eyes, in his nose, in his nostrils, everywhere.
It's beautiful. I love that you give him that opportunity because his intelligence is not only giving him exposure to all kinds of other things that will help him have a strong immune system, but also we learn as human beings from the earth by connecting in and feeling energetically and electromagnetically into the earth. And we as a culture have become so removed from our
Yeah.
natural instincts of being closer to the earth. We really got to get back to that. There's babies being born with autoimmune system issues and cancers and all kinds of diseases that ideally we can learn to eliminate. And part of that is rebuilding our immune system. So,
Yeah, so with my little one, and I showed you before, I'm just sharing again so the listeners can benefit from that. He's having like some kind of both physical and emotional reaction to going number two, and it's really hard for him. It's really painful, and I tried a lot of things. I went to the doctor, and he was like, "Just give him prune juice. Just put him on a diuretic. Blah blah blah."
yeah, so there, as you mentioned, there is the physical aspect of it, and then there's the emotional side of it. The bowels are about letting go. So the first thing that you could do as a mom would be to be really compassionate about what's going on for him in his life right now. His perception is different. And there's a lot going on in our world and in the environment that he doesn't have the ability to articulate to you as a child to be able to say, "Hey mom, this is what's happening."
Yeah, and he's hypersensitive. Yeah, he's hypersensitive. He like I think like he absorbs everything from the environment and he just takes it all in.
Yeah, most children do.
And I'm actually working with a healer right now to release him from that. Like kind of like just be a child. Whatever your mom and dad and whoever the adult around you have in their psyche is not yours.
Yeah, all children are born with the gift of energetics. They can see and feel energy, and they are sensitive, and they're being encoded by their environment. That's part of this Head Start program. And remember that he chose you and Stefan as his parents to have the exact earth experience that he needed to help him move into and fulfill his mission. We all come with challenges. We all come with these things that are opportunities for us later in life to be able to work through. Those are access points into our gifts, into why we're actually here. So it doesn't matter how hard you try, it doesn't matter what you do. Every one of us are designed to have core wounds that we work through. So just know that so you can let go of any type of guilt or whatever. It's he chose you to experience exactly the environment that you're giving him so that he can then become the man he was supposed to be and to fulfill the purposes he has and to find the joy in that. So I had to let go of
Just by you having saying like he's gonna become the man, I'm like I had a visceral reaction. Oh, my baby's gonna grow.
my baby's a man. I know it happens faster than you think, and your baby's only having babies, and it's just mind blowing. But
Mhm.
I always want to share with parents because I'm on the other side of my parenting. I have grandchildren now, and so it's like we need to have the trust that we are exactly where we are, and they're with us for a reason, and that we can be compassionate with ourselves and each other. For the children, though, oftentimes it's frustrating because we want them to have a bowel movement. We want them to be comfortable. We don't know what to do. And so that can bring more stress and more holding on. And so just thinking about ways that you can help him be safe and not unsafe, but you know what I'm saying? Like be safe in an environment where he can share how he's feeling. I know he's still very little, but just you do a good job. I've listened to the way that you parent and the way that you get on his level and let him speak and you have conversations and letting him be able to express.
Yeah, we have a lot of conversation. He's very wise and he's a good communicator too.
You can put your hand on his lower belly and just and love and massage it clockwise and talk to him about some of the things that or going on for his day, and ask him if he's already communicating with you on that level. Ask him, are there things that you feel like you're holding on to? Or are you afraid of something? And usually it'll be as simple as it hurts and he needs water. He's dehydrated, and it coming out is scraping, and maybe he's got some hemorrhoids and something is very painful, and he doesn't know how to say that, right? So that can be a simple thing, is just making sure somehow to help him fall in love with water. It's harder these days because kids usually want what's around them, and that's not usually water. So the more hydrated we can help his little body to be, that will help soften the bowel, so it feels better to come out. The thing I don't love about prune juice is if it were an occasional thing, sure, try to do something that will stimulate or soften the stools, but we don't want to look at symptoms only. We want to look at what is the cause of this. So you had mentioned that you've used probiotics before. Continue to do that.
Yeah, and what about like I used milk of magnesia?
I don't personally use that, but I would say there are things that are gentle and natural, that aren't addictive, that are just like food.
Like what?
There's different herbs that you can use that are not more stimulant herbs. I have a favorite product called Zendocrine Complex that is food, and it helps to nourish the elimination channels. So the actual organs that are in charge of releasing things. And we have 4 elimination channels. 2 of them are primary, 3 of them are 2 of them plus 1, and then some external elimination channels. And they're all really important. We need to feed and make sure that they're being taken care of. So that's your bowels and all of the system that go with that, small and large intestine. And then you have your kidneys and your bladder. And those are elimination channels for solids and liquids. And then you have your liver, which is got the biggest job of everything and trying to break down things, and it's an elimination channel, but it doesn't have an outlet. So if the bowels or kidneys get backed up, all of a sudden it's going to come out ear, nose, throat, lungs, or it's going to come out the skin. And that's why, here's another tip, is we start this process of bowels and allergies in our children from the first food we feed them. Babies aren't designed to break down food until their eye teeth come in. And so they don't break down proteins, is what I meant. So we are feeding our babies grains right away that are proteins, and they can't break it down. So you'll notice baby's fine, then nursing, and then we give them their first meal and they get constipated. Or they get stuffy noses and ear, nose, and throat stuff. And I'm like, it's because they weren't designed to break down the food that you're giving them. And so that starts the process of the bowels not working properly from day one. And so think about that. Anything that's protein, until your baby has eye teeth. And that's, some babies get eye teeth at 9 months old, and other babies it's 2 years old. That's something for young moms to be thinking about, or newer moms are to think about, is what kind of first foods can I give my baby that can break down based off of what his or her body can handle.
No grains, no breads, just vegetables and fruits?
Until the baby can break, some of those have protein too, but just not high levels of protein like a meat or the grains. If you gave a baby for first food, what do you see in a box? You get a processed box of oatmeal or, wheat or something, and we pour it in a thing and it's a baby's first food. So that's hard. Some foods, like even things that are constipating to you as an adult, are going to be constipating to a child. So be thinking about that. And certainly, this goes without saying, and I would imagine that everybody knows this, but processed foods and sugars and sweet things are not appropriate for babies' first foods. So it's really fun for parents sometimes. They go, oh, the baby wants something at 3 months old or 4 or 5 months old, and those cause later allergens in the system because the body has to treat it like go on a defense with that food because it can't break it down yet. And then we get undigested proteins in the system, and then we have leaky gut later in life. Not immediately, but years of foods that our bodies aren't breaking down create breakdown and autoimmune conditions later. I don't care how cute it is, your baby doesn't need ice cream for its first food. Like, just because it's soft, it's filled with sugar and all kinds of things that a baby's body doesn't need. So if we could give our babies a head start by giving just fresh and raw and natural foods to start with that are easy to break down, single foods, one thing at a time. Just like we were talking earlier with bacteria and exposure, is let the body build up a reservoir of things that it's going to draw you to. Everybody's body's different, so that's why it's important. It's not a cookie cutter program for our babies. We just maybe one little bite and see how the baby responds, and build up a repertoire of food that the baby's going to thrive with. And then if the baby gets constipated, then we're going to look at other things like water. And if the baby was a C-section, then let's look at introducing some probiotics and prebiotics for the baby. And maybe as the baby system grows and you get to older, you can start doing some fermented type foods for the child. Different cultures use fermented foods all the time. So here in the States, it's not as popular, but it's very easy to start introducing foods that have natural bacteria and pre and probiotics in them, help to break things down.
Put some prebiotics in it and some flaxseed, chia seeds, all organic. Do you think this can help, or do I need to add anything else to my shakes?
Chia can actually be constipating for some people.
Really? Okay.
You wouldn't think that, but I get that feedback quite a bit. There are a lot of people who can't. Now, broken down flax is typically okay. So flax should be fine. I prefer chia all the time, and a chia is fine on my system, but I would play around with keeping a food journal to see if that has an impact. And at this point, if he's not having regular bowel movements and you're not potty training yet, like eventually this will pass. Eventually he will have a bowel movement, I promise you, and it will happen on the toilet. It just seems impossible for boys. At least that's my experience. But
thank you for telling me that, because I feel so
we could do a whole call on potty training boys. I don't know what it is, but I had 4 boys, or I have 4 boys, and all 4 of them were really challenging to potty train. And my 3 girls, 2 of them were like way ahead of the cycle. My last child was a girl, and she took a little longer, but it was more because of me than her. I just, I don't know. I wasn't as concerned about how fast it took them to potty train my first babies. I was like, a year and a half, we are starting. I'm done changing diapers and we're going to be potty trained. And then with my son, it was like 4 years old.
wow.
And I thought I was going to pull my hair out, which brings one more topic to this conversation around the bowels. I know it's very frustrating. That is part of the emotional part, though.
Yeah, that they like it's like in my work to let go of expectation. I think especially like a lot of time as parents, they receive this pressure subconsciously. We should allow them to just be them, and maybe for some little boys and girls it takes 4 years, and some it's like a year.
Yeah, I mean, think about that on an emotional level for a child and the programming that we instill unconsciously and consciously in them. I mean, I'm heartbroken on my first children because I didn't know. There's a lot of pressures of new parents to be able to be like somehow keep up with the Joneses. It's like this competitive thing, and we compare to other children. And it's like I had an advantage in that I home educated my children, and so I didn't have a lot of comparison outside of my family and closest friends. But if we could allow our children to grow at the rate that they need, that teach them to trust their bodies, it would be a completely different world, because the babies are born with an innate intelligence. The intelligence of their adult self is already a seed inside them. They are already 100% intelligent. And in fact, I would wager to say that they're more intelligent than you and I, because they don't have the conditioning yet. They do have the programming from the womb, right? But these kids come, and just because they can't articulate doesn't mean that they don't know. And so it's looking for clues and teaching babies before they can speak how to tap in to their rhythm and trusting their rhythm, and things like human design and gene keys, which give us an actual look into how their system is wired and how they can operate, are great tools as well. But confidence in themselves as sovereign beings is so vital. And then they begin to have confidence in themselves, and then they can direct their care in such a way. But it is a process. I believe that.
Yeah, and I also feel pressure from my mom. She always like almost like every other phone call, she's like, "Is he potty trained yet? when I come to visit, I'm gonna tell him to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, Mom, like she doesn't like get the whole like background story and what he's going through. Like she's like, he needs to be potty trained.
Does he really need to be potty trained? No. It would be convenient if he was potty trained, but does he need to? Not necessarily. But the other thing is there's the biological and then there's the mental and emotional, and we're creating a lot of mental and emotional beliefs around oneself that will last his whole life in lots of areas. This is a very intimate area of one's life, and letting go and the way we handle things, that part. But then we're doing that over a biological thing that we don't actually know what's going on. It's not his fault that his poop is hard. He's not consciously making his bowels hard, right? His bowel movements hard. So I see that a lot. Same thing with like sucking of thumbs and things like that, where we're constantly not letting the child move through self-soothing and through some of the body systems. And so with my son, who wasn't potty trained till 4, it took me a long time to figure this out, but he had a case of pinworms that were very painful for him, but
Oh
he
wow.
didn't know what they were. And I'm horrified by this because I couldn't believe he wasn't potty trained. And then he would go hide and poop under a table or something. And I was just like pulling my hair out, and I would get so frustrated. And then one
Wow.
night we were watching a movie. He came out really late, and for him, he came out and he said, "Mommy, I have needles in my bum bum." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Aw.
And I took his diaper off, and he had pinworms. I was trying so hard because it was so like horrifying for me to find this in my child. I was like, next day I was at the doctor. I was like, what did I do? I promised I cleaned my house. And he's like, Kristin, 99% of children have pinworms. Like, you're just not seeing them. And so he goes, it's not about cleanliness. He said if they're in public school, if they've ever gone to the bathroom in a public restroom, if people come into your own home, we have pets that have parasites. And anyway, so I learned to deal with that. And once we worked through that, he got potty trained. He wasn't able to handle what was happening in his literal digestive system and bowels. And so here he is getting disciplined for something that he had no ability to manage. And so I think how often we give our kids a sucker.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much. Like I'm doing my best to be conscious and loving on him when he poops because I mean, we have like there's a whole issue of me like giving him a 20-minute hug when he goes to the bathroom until he eliminates, and sometimes I don't have the time or the patience and I do it anyways. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. You gave me just a gift to be even more conscious with my little one. And in order to like solve this on a physical level, like going to one doctor telling me just give him prune juice, everything's gonna be fine, and not even like listening to me, like where do I go to get the right supplements or the right diagnostic?
One is trust you and trust him, and just the internet and reading and books. There's all kinds of wonderful tools out there that you can read about it. I personally have a whole product line that I love that I can share with you.
Yeah, and it's gonna be in the show notes too. What's the name of it?
Yeah, I love the doTERRA product line just because it's very pure and very green. And so I am an expert and wellness advocate for natural health using the doTERRA product line. So if anybody needs help with some of these things, just let me know. But there's a product called Zendocrine Complex that you can just open up. It's a capsule with herbs that
Can you say it a little slower?
Zendocrine, like endocrine with a Z in front of it.
Zendocrine complex. Okay.
Yeah, it's a complex of natural herbs that are put together. Yeah, and we don't want anything addictive or something that you need longer term to have normal bowel function. We want to ask what is the cause behind it. And so we're going to always look for that. And prune juice, while it may help somebody go to the bathroom, or castor oil, I remember, oh gosh, don't ever do that. Anyway, things that sometimes they're really harsh on the system.
Not even a little bit in his bum bum to soften it.
Yeah, sure. I'm just talking about, I just had a bad experience when I was birthing my baby. My sister was like, take castor oil, the baby will come out faster. And it was miserable. Oh my gosh. Most everything is because we're impatient. It's because we are impatient with the process, and you don't know what questions to ask if you don't know what questions. So it's just learning to ask questions. How can I help my child have more regular bowel movements? And then your system's going to start finding answers for you, and the right people will come into your life, like me today, to say, okay, is he hydrated? What does his diet look like? Does he have a lot of processed foods? Is he getting enough foods that are going to move roughage, fresh, raw things? He's got teeth, so can he chew lettuce? Teach him digestion begins in the mouth. So teach him to chew his food instead of just bite, inhale, So chew things so that you.
Oh, that's what he do. He eats like his mom.
Yes, well, you can make a game out of it. Make it a game. Like, okay, we're gonna be a tiger today, and you put a bite. Okay, chew, chew, chew until it's liquid. Okay, like make it fun, because if we chew our food, you mix the saliva, which the process of pooping starts with your mouth. There's a big long tube. And so chewing our food and mixing with saliva, so the pancreas sends up the right enzymes to break it down, which softens it. So it goes, so then the small intestine has the ability to absorb the nutrition out of it, and the rest that the body doesn't need gets sent out through the large intestine. And then the liver's happy, and the skin's happy, and ear, nose, and throat and lungs are happy. And it's all a process, and sometimes you just have to backtrack and say, where's the breakdown coming from? I'm chewing my food, that's not it. I'm hydrated, that's not it. He needs to have more probiotics because maybe he didn't get as many because he was a C-section baby, or maybe it's like it's a really stressful time in our family right now, and then we just need to have a conversation to say it is okay to release this, and we're going to start each day new, and it's important for us to receive things and experience them and then let them go. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you just have to reverse engineer which part of the pathway is getting challenged, and then do whatever is most natural would be the best place to start with a child, and
keeps them to be confident in their body.
Well, thank you so much for everything today. I really, really appreciate you. And we're going to see you on the next episode.
Yes, we will.
Thank you. I love you very much. And thank you for everything today.
You're so welcome.
Bye. Bye-bye.